for the first time, I didn't hurt. And I didn't get high. I didn't get stoned. I just felt a little bit of an awe feeling. It was relief. It was just relief of not hurting all over for the first time in like a decade. So I was like, holy cow. And we only took like an eighth of a teaspoon because we were, I had looked it up. You start small. He was a much bigger guy. Even that worked on him. And he's like, I kind of dig this stuff. It helped take the edge off for him as an alcoholic. And it just took that pain away from me. And so I'm like, I'm going to need a little bit of this. Like, I'm going to try this out. And he did. He shared it with me. And then I tried the red. And I, because of the Ehlers-Danlos, I'm naturally hyperactive and it's hard to sleep. And I refuse to take sleep meds. But for the first time, I slept like 6, 7 hours straight.
I'm here with Araya Light, a fabulous gal I met who has popped into our Kratom Gals live stream in the comments from time to time, gotten to know her through that. Araya, I'm so glad you're on the podcast with us because it sounds like you have a really interesting story.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm happy to have found you guys. Like, I found a little tribe, I think, in a way. So yeah, like, I'm very grateful to be here and happy that my little YouTube guy put you guys in my life. So
I'm so glad too. We have a lot of fun doing that live stream and just bringing our community together. And through that, I meet so many amazing people like yourself. And I love having people come on the podcast here and share their story because it can help so many others. So we'll kick it off with you telling us a little bit about yourself and life before Kratom.
yeah, okay. So I am your typical Midwestern mom. I live on a farm out in a rural area, and I do homeschool. And before Kratom, I was a total go-getter. I was the tomboy, go, go, go my entire life. I went to school for mental health, and I worked with the disabled population for quite a while. And then I ended up going to bartending with my best friend, and I loved it. I went from doing paperwork and early mornings to having a blast with my best friend, but very physical job. And I did that for about a decade. And my job was opening bottles and making drinks for people. And one day in my early 30s, I started having joint pain everywhere. And my wrists hurt, and I was like, is it just wear and tear? I mean, I'm only like 32. And it just kept getting worse. And I ended up having to walk off the job one day because I was just in so much pain. And cut to a month later, I'm pretty much being diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. And I went from, opening 1,000 beer bottles a night to not being able to open a water bottle on my own. Just too much pain, and I had no strength. So I went from bartending to bedridden, matter of months. And I had always been very independent, multiple jobs. I would bartend. I was also a promo model, a brand ambassador. I worked out at like the state fair every year and like just different like big events, and always on my feet, just go, go, go. And to all of a sudden be bedridden, it was just like, what is going on? And so unfortunately, I was going to doctors, and doctors are just spinning the wheel, and they're like, okay, you're going to take this pharmaceutical and you're going to take this pharmaceutical. And at first, I listened to them because why wouldn't I? But I just was feeling worse. And I've always been kind of a natural health girl. Like I've never been one that likes to take medicine. I'd rather just tough it out. If I have a headache, I'll drink some water, or if I have a muscle ache, I'll put some magnesium gel on it, just not a big pharma gal. So when all of a sudden I'm dependent on big pharma and I'm not getting any better, I'm just like, this can't be my way of life. And I was on Facebook at the time, and I found a group called Rheumatoid Arthritis Managed Naturally. And it was ran by an RN. And in this group, they were saying things like, remission, pain-free, versus the other groups that I were in that were talking about injections and infusions and, just not being able to get out of bed every day and your 10th med. And so I was like, wow, there's a dichotomy here. And I think I'm going to try to listen to these people that are seemingly getting better. So I kind of leaned into that. Meanwhile, I'm on the waiting list to go see a rheumatologist. Our healthcare system's not that great. I think it took about 8 months. So again, I'm literally bedridden at this point. I'm not physically able to function. My entire body was just riddled with inflammation. I couldn't pull a sheet up in bed. Basically, I was having family have to take care of me and my needs at this point. I finally get to see this rheumatologist. And by this point, I had learned a little bit about natural health from this group. And I had kind of cut back. I'm like, oh, Mountain Dew's bad. Okay, I'm going to stop drinking the Mountain Dew. And, the greasy hamburgers and the chicken sandwiches that I thought were healthy at Wendy's, but really are not, and eating at Subway. And I was just learning that, what I put in my body really does matter. And so when I finally got to see this rheumatologist, and I was so excited because I had quit these things. I had been drinking Mountain Dew since I was in high school. And the fact that I had been able to stop and, I'd switched my diet around and I was starting to see some mild improvements. And as I start to tell this man, he literally interrupts me and says, diet doesn't matter. And I was just like, ooh. And he was like a very older, probably 70s, like a Polish man. He'd, been doing this his entire life. And I was just like, I hate to think differently here, but according to everything I've been reading, that's not true. So I went ahead and let him, write me the scripts and want to put me on a chemotherapy drug. And just, I hear this nightmare. And a little side note, my aunt was crippled with rheumatoid arthritis. I had saw her for 30 years with the crippled hands, being in a wheelchair, and she was on all of these meds, and they had never made her any better. So I walked out and I was like, I don't think I'm going to go see that doctor anymore. I think I need another doctor. And so I went to my primary care physician, who has been my doctor since I was 8 years old, which is very weird, but he was a family friend. So he knew me. He knew me. And he's like, okay, we'll try to find you a better match. So again, we're really looking at like 9 or 10 months of a wait though. So again, I'm really leaning into this Facebook group of natural health, and I'm literally just, my dad's helping me. We have a family friend who was an organic farmer. She worked with Farm Aid in like the 80s and 90s. She knows her stuff about natural health. So she gets involved too. And so we're just basically, I'm swapping out my meds without my doctor's permission. It makes me itch. It makes me like, but I was seeing the results taking away the bad food. So I do an entire gut health thing. I do an entire elimination diet. Which elimination, in anti-inflammatory elimination diet. And that's what I did. And it took a few weeks and it was really boring. But I saw a huge, huge reduction in pain, and I could move again and I could get out of bed. And so that's what I did. I literally changed my entire life. I stopped all the fast food, all the things that I thought were healthy that were not. Come to find out, white sugar, white flour, and even white salt are pretty bad for you. And so as I'm going through the steps, and I finally go to see this other rheumatologist, and at this point in time, I'm a lot better. But she still's like, I would really like you to be on a medication. And I'm like, but why? I'm getting better, eliminating things and reintroducing, good food to my body that I've never had before. So she kind of was like, well, okay, I'll give you a shot. Let's see what happens. So I get off all meds. And because my dad's really pushing me, he's like, "Well, why are you on?" And so I'm like, "Okay, fine." And again, I'm not telling anyone to do this. This was my journey. This was my intuition telling me that this is not the way. And I'm a highly sensitive person, so all those drugs were just causing so many side effects. It just was not worth it to me. And again, as I'm removing things and I'm feeling better, and it was really hard to be in the mindset of going against your authority. I mean, these doctors are who I've listened to my entire life, and now I'm going against them and I'm finding better results. So that's what I did. And I ended up getting off all of my medication. I ended up turning around all of my blood work. I had seropositive rheumatoid arthritis. My numbers were off the charts. 2 years later, base level. The rheumatologist was shocked, could not believe that I had done this. And so and my doctor too is like, great, your blood levels look great, but you still have rheumatoid arthritis. And I was like, okay, I get that, but I have this new lifestyle. So I get more into herbalism, more into plants. I've always been kind of a little bit of a hippie. And so I just kind of lean into that. And I heard about Kratom. And at the time I was still having some pain, I mean, I wasn't pain free by any means, but I had gotten rid of about 80% of the inflammation and the pain. One day I was carrying in groceries. I was able to function again. I'd gotten out of bed. At this point, I'm taking care of my house. I go to get groceries, but I had lost all of my muscle tone, being bedridden for months. Bartender to bedridden, that's a really weird mindset because I was like Mighty Mouse. So I'm carrying in groceries to the house, and all of a sudden my shoulder socket rips out of place. And I'm just in extreme amount of pain. And I hurry and get in the house, and I can't lift my arm. And I'm like, I thought maybe it's just popped out of socket, because that has happened to me. I've sprained my ankle a lot. My joints have been kind of loose. I used to have to pop my elbows. I played basketball and I was a little snappy. My whole family was. And long story short, I ended up going to physical therapy because my shoulder is just, I can't lift it. And they're checking me out, testing me, doing everything. And they say, you're extremely hypermobile. I was like, what's hypermobile mean? And it means that your joints move further. They have a further range of motion than normal. Most people's joints should move 8 degrees. Mine move like 12, as an example. So, and I'm 34, 35 years old. And this is the first time I've ever heard this in my life. And this therapist, like 22 years old, but I'm a avid researcher. I love to learn. I'm a total nerd. Plus, she's telling me about myself. So I go home and I'm like hypermobile. And I start going down the rabbit hole, and I read about Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome, which is a genetic connective tissue disorder, super rare, supposedly. And as I read all the things we'll shorten it to EDS, I'm just like, check, check, check. I'm home. I have all of these things. I had sprained my ankle every year. There was things in there, I had over dental crowding. I had sensitivities to everything. I was just like, this is me. This is my family. We just thought we were a little weird, Kind of find out I have this rare genetic condition. So I take this list into my rheumatologist, and I'm like, I think I have this. And I took it to my doctor originally, who again has known me since I was 8 years old. And I was like, hey, doc, I think I have this. And he dismissed me. He said, oh, no, absolutely not. He said, I've only seen one person in my entire practice that has that. And I was like, oh, but come on. And I was really disheartened. So then he's like, take it to your rheumatologist, because she would be the one anyways to diagnose this. I was like, okay. So I ironically had an appointment with her like a week later. I take it to her. I get to number 3. And she's like, I have no doubt you have that. And I was like, what? Like, mind blowing. Like, this changes my entire life. Like, no wonder that I have had these struggles and these problems and spraining my ankle every year and these heat intolerances and just everything. It was just like I was validated for the first time. She said, I'll send you to a geneticist. Well, they're the final say. And so that was back in 2015. So I had spent my entire life with this rare genetic condition, and I've just been living with it. And what it is it's a collagen disorder. So if you think about the 3 little pigs, the house made of bricks, I'm the house made of straw. My collagen is less dense. So everything in my body has to work 10 times harder. So my joints are hypermobile, so they don't want to stay in place. And then my muscles have to work much harder because their tissue is so much less dense that they have to struggle. And that's how every organ in my body is like that. So mind
Wow.
blowing. Wow. And so now it's like, now we know why my aunt has her problem. Now we know why my sister, like, it was because it's genetic. I just happen to have the worst case. And the avid researcher in me to dive down and figure out what's going on, because I'm not one to lay in bed. I said I was a tomboy. I'm a go-getter.
Yeah.
Let's solve this
You got
problem.
places to be, things to do.
Absolutely.
I can relate. I can
Yes,
relate. Yeah.
absolutely. And it's so hard to be. And what I had made a quote, like frustration is a hustler's mind in a broken body, because your mind is just going and you literally physically can't do anything. So breakthrough. Now I can get the therapy. Now I can get the doctors. Now I can get the validation that, yes, you are different. Yes, you do have more of a struggle. And it comes with heart problems. It's a mitral valve prolapse, which my aunt had in her 40s, and it can cause brain aneurysms, which my mother passed away
Wow.
from. So it's a big deal. And so I would really like to help spread awareness about Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, because it is not nearly as rare as people think, you know?
It's not. I hear people talk about it all the time in our community, in our
Mhm.
Kratom community. It's like I never even heard of it before I became a Kratom consumer, but people do talk about having it. It's not rare.
No. And there's 13 different subtypes. And so that alone, if there's that many types, clearly there's going to be
Wow.
a decent amount in the population that's having this. So I do see a geneticist every year. They poke and prod me. I do have some mutations. I'm kind of a big deal up there. It's fun, honestly, because it's kind of cool being different. And they got excited about my mutations, and it's like, so I
Wow.
really am an alien. So a lot of answers there. So
I'm so glad that you got it all figured out. Took a while, but you got it figured out. But you kind of briefly mentioned you found kratom through in the middle of all of that. So let's go back to
mhm,
like, how did you first hear about kratom? Like, how did you hear about it, and what made you decide to try it?
absolutely. So during that downtime, um, I came across a guy named Jordan Sather, who was in the quote truther community. I used to be kind of a not political, but uh, we'll say political activism, but not really. But I used to just be into like what's going on, and he was an activist, and he brought it up one day. I respected him. He was younger, but he was very, very intelligent guy, and he mentioned it one day and said that he had found it. It's an herbal supplement, and that it had helped him his focus. It had helped him his he didn't have to like drink caffeine anymore. He it just his neurotropic. He could not take a lot of things because the kratom just improved everything for him, and he just couldn't speak highly enough about it. And he wasn't trying to sell it, but I was like, wow, a herbal supplement, huh? Which that was all I was taking at that point in time. I'd been off of all of big pharma, so. But unfortunately, I was living in a state where you couldn't access it. So it was kind of a pipe dream. And this was about 2016, 2015, 16. About 2018, 2019, a friend of mine who was struggling with alcoholism went down to a Indian, like a powwow healing center, and they had kratom there. And since I'm everyone's herbalist, he was like, well, I'll just ask Araya about this. So they had helped him get sober, and then they sent him home with some green and some red. And he didn't know anything about it, but he trusted that I could tell him. And this was just like the world coming together for me, because he's like, hey, I got this stuff and I don't know what to do with it, but I figured you would know what to do with it. And I was like, kratom? And he's like, yeah. I was like, I'll be right over. So I was like, we'll take it together. I've been trying to try this stuff for years, and there it was. And so he's like, okay. So we took it together, and again, because of the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, I do have pain. It's chronic pain because my body is constantly struggling to just sit upright, um, and I can't take medication because I'm so sensitive to stuff. So I just kind of tough it out. I use topicals, biofreeze, magnesium, all that good stuff. But for the first time, I didn't hurt, and I didn't get high. I didn't get stoned. I just felt a little bit of an awe feeling. It was relief. It was just relief of not hurting all over for the first time in like a decade. So I was like, holy cow. And we only took like an eighth of a teaspoon because we were, I had looked it up. You start small. He was a much bigger guy. Even that worked on him. And he's like, I kind of dig
Wow.
this stuff. It helped take the edge off for him as an alcoholic. And it just took that pain away from me. And so I'm like, I'm gonna need a little bit of this. Like, I'm gonna try this out. And he did. He shared it with me. And then I tried the red. And I, because of the Ehlers-Danlos, I'm naturally hyperactive and it's hard to sleep. And I refuse to take sleep meds. But for the first time, I slept like 6, 7 hours straight. And I was like, holy cow, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. And again, I didn't wake up groggy. Like, I didn't wake up hungover. It was just, and I could turn over in bed. And that was one of the hardest things is with the EDS and with the pain is just laying flat. It's so hard even just to roll over in bed. Your joints get stiff, they get stuck, they dislocate while you're sleeping. You have to like build a little pillow fortress sometimes to get comfortable. And this allowed me to relax and sleep. And that was the bottom of the mountain of me progressing out of chronic pain. Like literally every step I took, I hurt. I just was used to it. I just literally lived in my elbows, my hands. I would get things called trigger fingers in my hands, where my hands would just lock up. Like I could not use my hands. So I would have to be very careful and like, it was a balancing act of, can I pick this up without triggering something, and then now I can't use my hand for a few weeks. So I was constantly in pain and constantly trying to function. And kratom was just enough to allow me to take that one extra step every day, or pick up that one extra thing that slowly allowed me to get the cobwebs out of my body. And like I was like the Tin Man on the Wizard of Oz, and it's like the kratom was like my oil can. And so just literally it took a couple years, it wasn't quick, but over time I started being able to function more and more and more. And it was thanks to the kratom. So that's how I got started with it.
That's amazing, Araya. Wow. I am so glad you found it. It sounds like it's been your miracle plant
It
with all that
absolutely,
you.
like, I'm kind of into tattoos, and I kind of want a kratom tattoo because it is that.
I got one. I got my little one that's
Wow,
I,
see, that's
my
like,
arms are covered, but I had room, and it's like I had to get that a few years ago.
I've
It's just the logo from the Crime Stories podcast.
yeah, that's how important it is to me, and I mean, it has been life-changing, and I think we might get into it in a little bit, like the propaganda we've talked about on the show, and, like, I've had to bring this to my family because they have heard the negative propaganda. And once I showed them, this is what I've actually been taking for the last 5, 6 years that has given me my life back. And they know I'm not an addict. They know I've never had any type of addiction. I never had any problem like that. And they have seen the improvement. So they're like, okay, clearly this is a
That's
beneficial
amazing.
plant. Yeah. So,
That's great. Well, so many times people do say to me, like, family members weren't really on board, but then they see how their loved one's doing,
mhm.
and they're like, "Wait a minute, they're doing so much better now. There's something to this."
Yeah,
So, I think it's great that you've been able to show them that how well this works for you, because it's so easy to watch the news and believe what we see on TV.
so easy.
You
So
know,
easy.
we don't know, right, unless we're shown otherwise, and that's one of the reasons why I do the Kratom Gals live stream, because
Mhm.
I just got so tired of seeing video after video after video of all this propaganda, misinformation, false information, especially news media. It's like, I still can't get over how many times right now in 2025 there's a news story about 7-OH, but they're showing whole leaf kratom powder
That's
as if it's all the same.
That's exactly what was happening. I'm not gonna name the family member, but that's what they were thinking, that I was taking. And so I broke it all out. I was like, "Absolutely not," and I just take powder. I just take the powder, and I take it as tea. As a bartender, I was used to taking shots. So I just take a little bit, I take about a quarter of a teaspoon and I mix it in a little bit of a water bottle and shake it up. And I
Mhm.
don't do it all at once. I kind of, I take it 3 times during the day and then once at night. But I kind of, I don't shoot it all at once. I'll kind of drink half, and then an hour or two later, I'll come back and finish it off. So, and I have actually lowered my dose because at the beginning, I was in so much pain that I needed it 24/7 basically. But it helped, but I could feel it wear off, and it didn't give me any withdrawal. I would just start hurting. I was like,
Right.
oh, there it is again. Oh, I forgot and it was just like, oh my
Me
gosh,
too.
that's
Yeah.
that's how my life has been. And so it would just, it's like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and take my dose. But now that I've progressed to the point where I'm at now, I wake up and I can go an hour or two and I just, and then I'll drink my coffee first, I'll kind of get up, and it's after I'm up and moving around that then I'm starting to kind of feel, and then I'm like, okay, I'll go ahead and take my first dose. So, I've not had to do any tolerance breaks. I'm just very regimented about it, and I always have been. I know that other people are not. I've actually helped quite a few friends with the alcohol. I can't tell you if he's still sober at this point, but he was sober for about a year after that. So it did help with the sobriety. And I've had friends who were on Suboxone who have turned over to the Kratom, and they could do this too. They could tell you how it's changed their life. I mean, I had a girlfriend who I've been friends with her since we were teenagers, and some drugs were running and ruining her life. And so then she was stuck on the Suboxone, and I'm like, there's better. And so, and now she has a full-time job. Her and her husband actually own their own business. They've moved up 3 times into a better house. I mean, I'm just so proud of them. And again, it's she's not addicted to it. It's just helping her function, and she's no longer losing her teeth to the Suboxone, and she's not, you know what I mean? It's just, and to see another person benefit in a different way, but still it's so life changing. It's just, it's a miracle plant for a lot of people. And I really want to speak out about that because there's a huge difference in use versus abuse. And us chronic pain, people with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, if you have EDS, I highly suggest you try Kratom. Just point blank. Like, that's one of the things I want to do. I want to do a little show about the benefits of Kratom and how it does help the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, because it helps me on multiple ways. And anyone with EDS would agree. They'll be like, "Oh my gosh, you're right. It does help with the anxiety. It does help with, the lack of sleep at night. It helps on so many different levels, and it's all natural." So I just
Yeah,
really would
it's
like to
great.
help advocate and get it out there, and squash all that big pharma propaganda that is
Yeah.
trying to ruin it.
Exactly. Oh, I'm excited that you wanna do that. I think that's such a great idea. We need more people advocating and helping people and just sharing information through their own personal experience. You can't get much better than that, it's just,
Mhm.
"Here's how this works for me," and others can relate to that. And you were just touching on about how this is just helping you in your everyday life. Let's talk a little bit more about that. So many times people discover kratom and they just find other things that it helps with, like just their well-being, or sometimes people say, "I also take medication for anxiety, and I don't even take it anymore because I didn't realize kratom would help me with that." So just what are you noticing, like, since you've been a kratom consumer, how it just helps you with your day-to-day life?
Absolutely. So I was one of the first people diagnosed with ADD back in the 90s. I kind of I got the medication. I say that I'm clinically diagnosed, and I didn't like the way it made me feel, and I got rid of it. And I've just been going through life without that until I was a mother. And then once when I was a mom, I couldn't do it anymore. When I was a bartender, having ADHD is actually a skill. It helps you. It helps you multitask. I mean, it is
Yeah.
beneficial. But then when you're trying to like run a business and a home and you're a mom, all of a sudden you need 5 more hands. And when your ADHD is overwhelmed, you can't. So I did end up getting on some ADHD medication, and it was a miracle. I was labeling my son's toy boxes. I mean, everything was great, but I didn't like it. Again, it's pharmaceutical, but I couldn't. it did help me. The way that I describe the medication is I'm like a car, and that medication puts the driver in the car. It gets go do this, put this here, put that there. This needs to be done. So it does help me. But again, once I started taking the kratom, that helped me. It gave me that focus that I was missing. And it kind of gave me the little bit of an energy of like, okay, I need to get up and do something. And I want to get up and do something. I want to go clean out that drawer. I want to go, I've been wanting to do this for weeks, you know? And so it just gave me the motivation. It took the pain away, gave me the motivation, the focus, energy to then go start doing things that I hadn't been able to do literally in like a decade. So that again was just huge, that I can start taking care of little things, and I'm not going to be back when I was on that medication, I was highly sensitive, and all they would have to do is change the brand or the manufacturer, and I'd start having crazy side effects. So I would have to be very careful even on that, and insurance. It was just a hassle, and I was like, I'm just going to stop. I don't want to be on it anyways. And kratom does enough for me there that it puts the driver in the car for the most part. And so again, you know, we have a little hobby farm here. We've got donkeys and rabbits, and you know, we've got acreage, and I can go out to the barn. Like I can walk back and forth. You know, I can help with things, and I could never have done that before. So the anxiety as well with the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. If anyone has it, anxiety is a huge part. We have like a internal hypervigilance because since our body is always working so hard, we're kind of like in fight or flight all the time. And so everyone's on like antidepressants, and that's something I want nothing to do with. So again, I've just lived life with that. But again, I would have anxiety and I would feel it. So I tried some yellow kratom, which people don't really talk about yellow that often. But yellow they call it mellow yellow. And it literally was like taking Medicaid. It took the edge off, calmed my nerves. So when my mother passed away, that stuff ramped up pretty bad, the anxiety. And I got through it with the yellow kratom. And I don't have to take the yellow kratom anymore, but I do still have some. So yeah, I mean, it has literally filled in those gaps that big pharma had tried to fill, but really wasn't doing a good job because of the side effects. The kratom, I have no side effects. It does make me drink more water, which is great. You know, I mean, that's the only
That's a good
thing.
thing.
You have to drink more water, which that I needed to do that anyways. So, you know, that's the
That's
only
not a bad
downside.
thing.
Yeah.
I've had no negative side effects either. I mean, yes, drink more water, which is a good thing. For some of us, a little bit of a constipation issue, but you know, there's over-the-counter medications or just magnesium. You know, supplements will help with that. No, I had more side effects when I was taking the opiates for
Oh
my
yeah.
chronic pain
I was
than I
allergic.
ever did with kratom.
I was allergic to the opiates. So
Really?
I itched. Yes, I could not take. So that's the other thing too, is like this works on the opioid receptors, right? But it's all natural. So I was a little bit of fear there trying it. But again, none of that. When I was taking, you know, the opioids from the doctor, I mean, I literally, there was one time when I was going to scratch my skin off because the internal itch was so bad. And it's like, I can't just, if there's a side effect, I'm going to have it.
Yeah.
So, you know, and to go from all of that to just a complete safe, a leaf that we just grind up.
Yeah.
Like what do you, yeah, let's do that.
It's hard to believe. Like, I just remember the first time I heard about kratom, it was from the documentary A Leaf of Faith. And they're talking about this plant and how well it works for pain relief, and I just remember thinking that there's no way a plant is gonna help my pain instead of the opiates. And the opiates, while they worked for me, they didn't make all my pain go away. I mean, you know, in all the many years I was in pain management, pain was always top of mind. I mean, I was always hurting. The meds would just take the edge off of the pain. So at
Yeah,
least it was tolerable so I could
tolerable.
still do things, but I was hurting all the time, all the time. And was so wild with me for me with kratom, 6.5 years I've been taking it every day. I've never had tolerance break either. I've never needed one. Yes, dependent, but I've never had any addiction issues with kratom. But it, I'm just I forget that I'm a chronic pain patient. I forget that I'm somebody that suffers with debilitating degenerative disc disease. That's something that doesn't get better. It only gets worse.
Right.
And I am a little nervous because I haven't been to a doctor for it in these 6.5 years because I got dropped from pain management through no fault of my own. Doctors are still doing this war on drugs that never worked, but
Yep.
that's the
The good
way it
old
is right
Sackler
now.
family.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but this plant is just like the thing with me is, why do people not talk about this? Here, this has been life changing for me, and what turned me into this big advocate very quickly when I became a kratom consumer was I looked back at my 9 years in pain management. Never heard kratom. Never
Mhm,
heard about. I
mhm.
never heard anybody talking about it. And I'm an internet person. That was the work I've always done. I've been in digital marketing for like 29 years. I've been teaching social media the last 20. Very immersed in all that. I never heard of kratom. I'm like, something's wrong here.
It
How
that
could this plant change my life, get me out of debilitating pain? Yes, it wears off and then I need more because I need to take it again because like just like you were saying, like it wears off, now I'm in pain again.
yeah.
I'm not feeling like I have to have it, like there's no psychological
Mm,
addiction thing going on. Is I don't want to be in pain. And I would much rather consume a plant than an opiate. I mean, if I have a choice, sure. I just couldn't believe nobody talks about this in the pain community or very little. But I'm like, okay, I got to start a podcast. I need to use my skills to get the word out and help people because people need to be aware of this. And what's
mhm.
interesting, Rhea, since I've been doing the podcast, the live stream, all this stuff, being active on TikTok, people have heard about kratom from seeing my videos, and I've had multiple people say to me, I learned about kratom. I stumbled upon you on social media. I learned about kratom from you. I relate to your story. I have chronic pain too. This is what some of them have said. I was able to fire my pain management doctor.
I want that. I
And
want that
that's
too.
powerful.
Uh-huh. That's amazing.
Mind blown, mind blown. And that's not why I
That's
went into advocacy. I just want to help spread awareness.
Me
I
too.
want people to know there's an alternative, whether you suffer from pain, anxiety, depression, or just want a cleaner energy boost instead of caffeine.
Yep.
You'd rather just consume kratom. And I just love doing this. It's just definitely my passion. I love that you're also passionate about advocacy. And I love how you've been helping people around you with it. Is this just something you do very regularly, just kind of
Oh, yeah.
talking it up about kratom and helping
Mhm.
others?
I've always been this is gonna sound funny, but I've always been like the village witch doctor in a way. Growing up, if somebody got stung by a bee or they needed a Band-Aid, I've just always been the motherly, nursing, caring energy. So, yeah, I mean, animals find me, people find me, and I really that means the most to me. To For a short time, I worked at like a spinal care center, so I actually know a lot about what you have. And I was in the marketing program, and I was bringing people in to do our non-invasive spinal decompression stuff. And I would have our clients then seek me out, come find me in my office to thank me and say that, this is the first time that I don't hurt. And it's thanks to you. And that was like 15 years ago. So I've experienced that, and like that's the best thing on earth, to have somebody just thank you that I don't hurt, and you're part of that journey. So yeah, I totally want to do that. And so people around me that like they just come to me, they'll ask, should I take this? I trust you more than my doctor. People that I went to high school with, they'll message me on Facebook, hey, my doctor wants me to take this. What do you think? Like constantly people are running things by me like that. And I have found out that there's just a whole community of kratom users in like illegal states, for instance, that but they're pain people. They're not addicts, they're not druggies. They're people who have been kicked out of pain management. They're people that have had 5 failed back surgeries and their doctor's like, good luck. They're people like me who every step I took, I was in pain and there was not really an alternative. Everything I took made me sick. So, yes, I shout it from the rooftops, that there is an alternative. You can get better and trust your intuition. Like, I think that's a big part of it is if you want to get better and you know that you can't, like, your body wants to heal itself. Your body wants to get better. And that's step one, mindset that you can get better. And then once you kind of bring that into your energy field, people will start coming. And then things like Kratom, just it gets brought into your universe, and then you experience it. And then you can be that, the person that goes first and say like, hey, look what I did. You can do it too. Follow me. I know the way, and that's kind of like my screen name, Araya Light. I want to be that ray of light for people, follow me.
Yeah.
I figured it out. I went from bedridden to, helping out in the barn. I've lived multiple lives. You can get better. And Kratom has been a pivotal aspect of that. And it's pretty much the only thing that I take. I mean, I'm not on any big pharma. Um, and we'll give it this. My, family member had a toothache and was going to have, they, because of kidney issues, can't take certain medications. And I was like, I got you. And gave them some Kratom pills and was able to fall asleep and make it through until they could get the tooth removed. So you just little things like that. It's so beneficial. And I love having the little pharmacy in my pocket, or just, like the
Yeah.
knowledge and the know-how and the experience and the story to show people, hey, this works and this is how it works and it can work for you too.
It can help so many people. I love that. I love just this is such a great conversation. I'm so excited for you.
My mom's an energy drink person, and she had a brain aneurysm and died.
Um,
And I with the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, that could happen to me. I mean, an aneurysm, that's part of the connective tissue disorder. But the one thing that I do regret is not getting her on Kratom. I wish that there had not been the stigma. I wish that it had been more known about, that I could say, hey, mom, let's get off those energy drinks. Let's try this natural thing. Let's you give,
yeah,
and I think that it could have possibly helped her. So that's another reason why advocating is so important, because it's like, if you feel the need to speak up, go ahead and speak up, because you don't know if you're going to have the chance again.
right. Wow. Well, so sorry about your mom. That's powerful, and I love that. That's part of your motivation to doing this and helping others. I want to talk about like a hot topic subject that's that's always in front of our face all the time right now. 7-OH,
Oh yeah.
and I remember a while back on our Kratom Gals live stream when you were live in the chat, you had talked about how you did a little recon. You went to one of the local smoke shops in your area because since more and more people are learning about what 7-OH is, which is semi-synthetic. It's not whole leaf kratom like what we consume, but is super popular these days. And a lot of people are like, okay, I gotta go see what this is all about. Let me go to my smoke shop and see, are they selling this? I went to a smoke shop nearby me and I asked y'all, I was out of curiosity if they're carrying it, because I'm curious, like, are people starting to take this off the shelves now because of all the negative stuff that goes with it?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And a nearby smoke shop says, oh no, we don't carry that stuff. It's not good. And I was like, awesome.
That's
Okay.
amazing, because
Because it's usually the other way around. They want to make their money, and so, but no, this gal was like, no, and she even says something like, "You can't even really get them around here. Like they're all taking them off the shelves." I'm like, whoa! But wait, tell us about your thoughts on 7-OH, and then your little recon to the smoke shop.
yeah, absolutely. So I became aware of the 7-OH from you guys. I didn't even know it was a thing. And here we go again with taking a natural product, ramping it up and making it something that it's not, and now making it dangerous, basically, or making it highly addictive. And I for years going and getting kratom, I didn't pay attention to it, or they had such a small selection of it that I just didn't see it. But I definitely was never pointed towards it. Okay. A couple months ago, I went to my shop, and all of a sudden, half of the store is 7-OH, and the kratom supply is a fraction of what it was. And I'm just gobsmacked. And I was like, holy cow, there it is. That's what they were talking about. And so I'm just looking, and I've made friends with the worker girl. She's just the biggest sweetheart. And because she'll tell me like what good brands they have, and she's an excellent customer service. And I was like, oh my gosh, you guys have that. And she looked at me and she's like, don't. And she was like, if you haven't already done it, don't. And but basically they were um, stuck on it, that they had tried it because it was new to the shop. And she was a Kratom user, a regular powder Kratom user, the last time I talked to her. And then now, months later, she's on the 7-OH. And she said that
Wow.
she tells that people come in for it constantly, that it has taken over their, their sales, basically, that that's what people want. But she said it's so hard to get off of. She said that she has not been able to get off of it. And she said that, and she told me no. And she said, if you haven't tried it, she goes, we tell you not to, she's like, stick with the Kratom. And I had a lot of respect for her. She was like, basically like, no, I'm stuck on it. Don't you dare touch it. And I was like, thank you. And it was just mind blowing. And it kind of made me sick a little bit, like, oh, and I was in there for 10 minutes. 3 people came in and bought just that.
In 10 minutes.
10 minutes. And they were like, they didn't look like druggies or anything. They didn't look like users. But that's what they bought. And I was just like, okay, interesting. So this is a big deal. A couple weeks ago, I went down to Tennessee to visit a girlfriend, and I went on another little recon. It's sad down there. Hardly any powder Kratom. It is all 7-OH. And
Wow.
every time I walked into a shop and asked for the Kratom, they pointed me to the 7-OH. And I was like, I don't want that. And I was like, powder. And then they would point me to this little bitty corner of like 2 different types. I mean, it was rough. So I was like very disheartened, because it's like, this is going to be harder and harder to find this. And now I see that this is absolutely taking over. It's being abused. People are getting highly addicted to it. And it's not just giving Kratom a bad name, it's pushing Kratom out. I mean, I had to, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to get on some vendors, I'm going to have to find some different places, because my local are switching over to 7-OH. And it's scary. It's scary to see that, because we're trying
It
to get
is.
people off of pharmaceuticals, you know what I mean? And then
Right,
here we
right.
go. Let's just give you
And here's
another.
here's something that's basically a pharmaceutical. It just happens to be available over the counter at the moment, even though the FDA is like, no, we got to have an end to this, but the DEA has to do it. So,
Mhm.
they recommended the DEA, ban it and put it on Schedule 1. DEA hasn't done anything yet, and government moves slow with things like this. I don't think it should be Schedule 1, because Schedule 1 means you can't research it, and it sounds like it has potential, but it needs to go through the drug process. And yes, that can take 10 years. It could take billions of dollars, but don't just put it on the market, give it drug names. I mean, some of the names for these,
I saw.
it
It's very
that
indicative,
just
yes,
yeah,
of,
yeah, yeah.
yep, of the good old days. And that's just, it's a bad look. I mean, it's a bad look,
It
and it
is.
gives Kratom a bad name. And I'm not knocking, again, if you need pain relief, and 7-OH is what
100%.
works for you. I'm not knocking that whatsoever, because I still feel that that's better than the alternative. But at the same time, I've only heard kind of the horror stories, and the fact that it's so strong, and the fact that the withdrawals are so bad. And again, I'm a heavy researcher. So before I, took the Kratom, I had heard about it for years and years. And the person I'd heard it from, respectable, good guy. So, and I have yet to see anyone like that with the 7-OH, not to be rude or anything, but I haven't seen anyone come out that I respect that's like, yes, you should take this. So,
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what happens. And I really hope that it doesn't create an entire ban, that just.
Well, here's what's so interesting. So, just a few years ago, right before 7-OH was on the market, the negative thing would be the extracts, which
Mhm.
not as strong as 7-OH, but stronger. It's taken the whole leaf and isolated the mitragynine, the one alkaloid, and making it super strong. And people got addicted to it. And we would always hear negative things about kratom because of that. But then when there's that negativity, many times communities, when this is get brought up to like a city council or a state legislator, they look at all kratom. They're like, okay, kratom is kratom is kratom, it's all bad. Whereas no, the powder's fine. It's these extracts that some people, not all, but some people abuse. And it gives it a bad name. And it's so interesting to watch over these last 2 years that prior for years, it was always the extracts that gave it the bad name. Now it's been the 7-O. And we just watched it get more and more and more. And here we are recording this in October 2025. And that's all you hear about is 7-OH and more bans for
Mhm.
Kratom have cropped up this year than ever. And most times it's because of the whole 7-OH thing. But you get these people in communities that don't understand it's not all the same. And they just think it's all Kratom and they want to just ban all Kratom, which is scary for us responsible whole leaf consumers because we're getting caught up in the middle of all this. It's kind of like back to the war on drugs. Responsible chronic pain patient, getting opioids. I researched, I understand what I was getting into. I just
Mhm.
didn't want to suffer in pain so much. I never abused my meds. I never took too much. I followed all the rules. But that war on drugs affected so many of us in the pain community that
Absolutely.
didn't do anything wrong. And then we all lost access. And I feel like, is this coming back around? We like in this like cycle now, and now here I find this plant, use it, is great, is life changing. But wait a minute, here comes the bad
Yep.
element
Mhm.
to come over and poo poo on it for all of us. It's like, what the heck? I just thought I'm set for life now. I got this amazing
Right.
plant.
No, me too. And yeah, now I have to
Well,
worry
yeah,
about not accessing my
right,
medicine. And I mean, that's a
right.
big fear. And I mean, even with we talked about the tariffs and stuff like that, and just regulations and controls that's out of our hands that affect us, and it's like, like, I'm going to go get a kratom tree, at this point, it's like, I got to at least try to be self-sufficient.
Give it a try. Give it
Yeah.
a try.
And the other thing real quick
Yeah,
is the problem that we have is these content creators that are just using Kratom for content. They're like, oh, what's this new
they
thing?
are.
Let's try the 7-OH. And then all of a sudden, or the feel free.
Feel free. Oh my gosh. That yes, 100%. Somebody goes viral with the feel free one with the guy that went viral a few months back where he got millions and millions of views telling the story of walking to the convenience store and the kid that stops him. Will you buy these feel free? He tried to steal my wallet, blah blah. I don't even know if that's a true story, honestly. The way he
Probably not.
told it, it didn't sound very truthful. And it started that whole propaganda machine, and then all these like YouTubers and TikTokers like, I'm gonna jump on this and let me make a video. This happened like at least a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. This girl made a video about feel free and it went viral. It went crazy. We showed it on the Kratom Gals and then people jumped on it and then it kind of died
Mhm.
down. But then, you know, you're
Going
so
again.
right.
It's going
This is what
again.
happens is
Yeah.
people looking for views and clicks and they do they understand they're messing with people's lives when they're doing
No.
this? They're giving this a bad name nationally to the media and to the public, and then we're like, "I just want pain relief. Stop messing with my leaf."
So that's where I'm in the comments, advocating and throwing elbows to advocate for us. It's like, hey, we need this. Like, we are not abusers. We are not druggies. We are not junkies. We are chronic pain patients who have been neglected or kicked at. I mean, there's reasons. And like I had commented once that I have an extreme chemical sensitivity and I can't take, because they were like, someone in the comments against it, oh, you guys just want a high, or you just want, and I was like, it's not even about that at all. I said, I have a chemical sensitivity and I can't take medication. And he said, oh, well, kratom's a chemical, it's that. And I was like, correct, but there's a difference between natural and synthetic. If we want to go
Right,
down, I'll start to, you know what I mean, like, I'll go with you, I know the difference. But unfortunately, no, these people are screwing with our lives because it is just content to them. It is views. They're making money off
yeah,
of it. And it's becoming detrimental to us that depend on it. And that's why, like, I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to do a giant, EDS, why we should take Kratom, and just kind of get out there, so that at least my video can be out there too, that it can help counter that. When
there you
people
go.
look it up, it can at least help counter. And people are like, oh my gosh, this girl, look, she's not. They can look me up. You can find out, all my background, my history, and like, okay, she's legit. And hopefully, then I can help dispel some of the BS propaganda. So,
Araya, we need more people like everybody watching this right now.
mm-hmm.
Be like that. Be like Araya. Get your voices out there. Make a video. Talk
Mm-hmm.
about your experience. Start a podcast. You don't have to. Just do something. Start something. At minimum, make a video or call your legislators and tell them there's a plant called kratom. Whole leaf kratom powder has changed my life. Please keep it safe and legal.
Yep.
Like do something, because if we're just complicit and we do nothing, it could get taken away. And the way things have been going in the world, we could wake up one day and they're like, we're banning it for everybody.
Yep. Just like that. And it's usually a financial reason. Somebody's getting
Yeah,
their pockets padded, again, big pharma, whatever it is, and we suffer. So yeah, we have to stand up for ourselves, and
yeah,
you can get better. If we have, your gut tells you. If you have a doctor who's not listening to you, who you've been with maybe for years, or just going round and round, and you're not getting any better, get a new doctor. Try, just get a different opinion maybe. And also, don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. I have a friend who, she's had neck issues and she also takes kratom, but she's had neck issues for years. And I was like, well, what's wrong with it? And she's like, I don't know. I was like, what do you mean you don't know? You should save my C4 and my C5, or whatever it is. And I explained to her, I said, the fact that you don't know what's wrong with you is why your doctors have never taken you seriously, and why you're just being passed and passed and passed. And so now she wants me to help go through her medical records and help her understand what's wrong with her, so that she can advocate for herself, because these doctors are just tossing different drugs. You know what I mean? It's just a
yeah,
marketing scheme. So
right.
I willingly will advocate for people, and I'm happy to be here and fight this fight with you, Madeline, and everybody, and to help people get out of pain. I mean, it's
I love that.
live life. I
There you
mean,
go.
yeah.
That's awesome. That's so great. I'm so glad I had you on the podcast. This is a
Thank
great
you.
conversation, Araya. My last question, knowing everything you know now about kratom, what advice, and I know that you are helping people, like what advice are you giving somebody brand new, doesn't know anything about this? What do you tell them?
I would introduce them to it first. I would explain it to them, where it comes from, and my use of it, and then I would explain to them how I feel like it could help them, and then I would share it with them. I would start, give them a dose and see what they thought. And because I've done that for quite a few people so far, and it's turned out good. I did have one friend who, he just wasn't interested in it. He wasn't into it, and that's fine. But be open. Again, if your intuition's telling you that there's got to be more to life, or that there's something else out there, trust that, and don't be afraid to ask for help. So yeah, and
Yeah,
and
that's
just, if
great.
don't be afraid to try it. I mean, if you're living in pain, or if you're living with anxiety or depression, and I mean, why not? Why not give it a shot? So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. This has been so great, Araya. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your story. I know this has helped a lot of people.
I hope so, Madeline. I really do. And thank you so much.